Art students, Brian Proctor, the art teacher, back again, and I'm sitting here amongst a mess, and I've done my best to angle the camera so that you guys can't see the mess, because if you see it, you would unsubscribe. And anyway, I've got something going on that I want to show you guys, and I have decided to take all of my old characters and put them all together and make my Brian universe, because you have your Marvel universe, you have your DC universe, you have your Image universe. So, I said, why not have my Brian universe? So, because I've been doing characters since high school, so I want to show you what I've been doing, even not high school, junior high school. When I first learned to draw, I started doing characters. So I dug through my closet, which is just why my room is just so tore up. And I want to show you guys the characters that I have designed for years and years and years, enough to have my own universe. So, and even I'm going to show you my very, very, very first comic book attempt. And I'll tell you about that once we get to the drawing table. So I'm not going to ramble, so let's go. Let's just go. All right. So first, let's start out with the very first attempt at doing a comic book. Now, I don't know why I did this, but I was a Batman fan. I don't know why I did it. If either I did it to take it, to show it, or I did it just because I liked it and I took it later to show it. But at a local comic book shop, we had the lady that owned it had an artist. It was a guy from Marvel or DC, one or two. It was Brett Booth before he became big. He was came to her shop, and he was signing and basically signing books. So I brought my stuff there, and I wanted him to look at it. And I was like the last one there, because I knew the lady, because she had some of my drawings in her shop. She would put drawings up. And I brought these pages. I don't know if I did that to show him, if I already had it and just decided to show him. But I brought these pages and showed him. And the very first thing he said, if you see my hand, you see how big these things are. These are poster boards, okay? He said, do you know what comic book paper is? I was like, no, I didn't know, because I didn't know. I just knew that I liked to draw and I wanted to draw a comic book. So I don't know if I actually showed these images on my YouTube channel or not, but I was going through, I saw in, I can't think of what it's called now, but I saw these basically kind of like these exact same panel layouts in somebody's drawings of a Batman. And I'm thinking, wow, I don't remember if I ever showed this or not, but this guy had like almost panel for panel. He turned it just a little bit. Not Instagram, I can't think of, I'll think of it later. It'll probably be down here. But somebody said to me a long time ago, he said clouds, he said, ideas are like clouds that float over your head. Anybody can reach up and grab one and pull it down and use it. He said, but the thing is, if you don't do something with it, somebody else will come along with that same idea and do something with it. So this guy, almost panel for panel, I had to find it. It's in my computer somewhere. The exact same drawing. So anyway, this was my first attempt. So this was like Alfred coming down in the elevator. So it's a down shot in the elevator to the Batcave, and it was like, instead of going across, I did like in one panel. Notice I didn't have any gutters. I didn't know what a gutter was. Like I said, this is my first attempt. Elevator opens up. You see a big shot of the Batcave, Batman sitting down at the Bat computer. Alfred goes up to him. I had no idea about panel sizes as well, like what the size of the panel should determine what had the most action, and I'll show you in a second. So he comes up to him, and Batman is still doing his thing. He's still concentrating, and Bruce Wayne, he's not Batman yet. And then I didn't know what I was gonna put there, but then he realized I could have did a close up of the eyes. He realized he was there, and Alfred brought some tea, and then he stretches. Alfred talks about something, pours the tea. Bruce shows him what's going on the computer. He found something, so he took the robe off, and I did a big old close up of the robe being thrown over the chair. Why did I do that? I don't know why. This should have been a bigger panel than that. So then he got dressed, put his belt on, put the mask on, and put the thing on. And one thing I remember, he said, I like that pose. Brett Booth said, I like that pose. That's a good position, And I wasn't sure about the face, how to kind of shadow, how they do that shadow on Batman's face. So this was when I think it was the Batman cartoon was out. I don't remember what it was called, Adventures of Batman or whatever, but he had the square car. This was at that time. I love that car. So I drew it in there because it was easier to draw because it's more of a square. So he goes to the car and he hits a button that starts it up. The fire comes out. He pushes on the gas. No. He went to, because I was going down. See, I didn't even know how to do. It was this one and then this one. It should have been like this one, but didn't know my panel directions. Got in the car, was talking to Alfred. I was always trying down shots. I was sucked at down shots. Hit the ignition button, fire came on, slammed on the gas, fire came out, he took off, leaving Alfred there. So, you know, Alfred said something. I think he said, I always do, because he said, don't wait up for me. He said, in this panel, I know he said, don't wait up for me. And Alfred was there, and then he said, I always do. And then he went back, and a big shot of the Bat Cave, because it's just him and his loneliness, and he went across a little bridge. This was more like a time killer thing. And then he picked up the tray, so I guess something was going to happen down here, I guess, I don't know. Picked up the tray, and then he went back to the elevator and went upstairs, which led me to do an Alfred story where Alfred, he didn't quite die, but Alfred story. So anyway, that was my first attempt. I didn't know anything about gutters. I didn't know anything about, like, somewhat the panel directions, panel sizes. So yeah, if you're doing that, you know, don't give up. You know, there are things that you still need to learn. So let's get into some of the drawings or some of the characters that I created when I was a young cat. All right, this is a long time ago. What year is this? I don't even have a year. This was me because I love comic books and I wanted to be a superhero. So this is me when I was young, and this was like my first attempt at watercolor because I didn't have the ability to paint something this big, and I always drew on big paper. I don't know why. I just always drew on big paper, poster size paper. So this was kind of like, I love the Fantastic Four, and this was like the Nightcrawler uniform, and of course I liked what was that thing? Thunderbird. So I had a little Thunderbird ship there, and belts with gadgets. You can't see the belts with gadgets, you know, I like that. So I gave like the bigger shoulder pads. So this is kind of like my first attempt at me having the being a superhero. And I always liked the Fantastic Four. I liked the Human Torch. So that was the power that I had back in the day. So of course, if I was a hero, I had to, as my plan is, because I don't know, it was on another world, I had to have a team with me. So later I drew up a team, and I don't have the old one. I can't find that, but I revamped them a little bit more later, because you can see I grew up a little bit. That was me again. I grew up a little bit. I changed my the costume, and I even changed I think I changed the costumes of the characters. So this was my team back in the day. And when I was young, I had friends, but I didn't have a lot, and I really didn't like to go out. I would always stay in and draw, and I would write, because I was not that great at drawing. I would write, and I wrote stories for these cats like every day. I had a notebook full, and I wish I could find that notebook. I cannot find it. I don't know where it's at, but it's got all the stories, all the old drawings, and the paper's all yellow, and it's just that old. I think I was in junior high back then. Not for this one. I grew up a little bit more. I think I might have been in high school. Learned a little bit more about anatomy. All right, another cut in the video. As I was putting stuff back, I ran into my first team, the earlier drawings. I think this was even earlier than the other one, when I had the 5-member team. So this is Force 3. Yeah, that was the name, Force 3, because it was me and some other guys. I don't know why. And I mentioned that about capes and hands. Of course, you see his hands messed up because I didn't know how to do hands. And anytime you put a cape around somebody, it's because you want to like cover up what you cannot do. And I was like just barely drawing back in the day, and I had my little claw hand right there, and you know, my face, you know. So yeah, anyway, that was my first attempt. And of course, color pencil, because I don't know if this was before I even tried watercolor, but color pencil, yeah. All right, back to the video. So back then, my brother, he started drawing. My uncle got me into comics, and I'm looking away, so if my voice changes, I'm looking away at more drawings. And he created something. Where is that thing at? He created this robot thing. I don't know why, but I liked it. So I said, okay, because he just stopped. So I said, I'm going to do something with it. So I created my own little thing to go with him. I might have to pull back on this. This was his little robot creation, but I redrew it, and this was when I was still young. And I put this in like an art show. I drew that. I wrote up the little bios and all of that. So these guys are going to be part of my universe. And I don't know if you can even read that, because this was before computers, and you had to handwrite that stuff or type it on a typewriter. I didn't know how to type. So anyway, that one, and let me show you, because I decided I was going to do more of a comic book, a poster of it. I might have to pull back a little bit, but this was like the shot that I was going to do. I was going to color this, but I realized watercolor was not my friend, and then I screwed up with the inking. This is why I don't like to ink, because back in the day I always had a problem with inking, and so I didn't really, I got to the point where I hated inking. So that was going to be like the #1 comic, and I don't know if you can see that. This is so yellow. I'm telling you, this is so old. I had my like #1 there, and it was going to be, how much was it going to be? $1. $1 for a comic, yeah. So back in the day also, I liked Iron Man before Iron Man became popular. Iron Man was still like B. He was like a B comic book hero. But I liked the fact that that's when he had those big old boots on. I liked his suits because he kept changing suits, but he had the big clunky suit back then. And I liked Star Wars. So I liked the lightsaber. So I put this little metal uniform together. And this guy was like a bounty hunter. And this is when I started doing marker. But these are like the raggedy water markers that, just crappy. So I started trying to blend and so forth. And, yeah, it's just trial and error. So another guy, part of my universe, bounty hunter type. So as I got better, I started to, as you see, I didn't put a hand on him because it was like hard for me to do hands back in the day. I started refining and doing better. And somehow this got ripped. I don't know who ripped it. So I never really finished it. So, and this is what you have to do when you have a character. You have to have your front, your back, your side, all of that stuff. You can't just draw a picture and say, oh, this is my character. Well, what does he look like from the back? What does he look like from the front? So in here is an early one. This is an early one. So let me point out some of the defaults here. #1, you don't see any fists. I was not good at doing hands. I was not good at doing faces, the way this face is turned. And I see a lot of young artists doing this today, and it's just a way. I'm going to do a video on having to draw faces and measuring them out, or having guidelines to always have it right. Even looking up, I was not a big face drawer or hand drawer. So yeah, that, it slows you down. This thing is just a, anyway. So this cat he was like this thing. Was it? I don't think, anyway, I can't, this is so old. I never gave him a name, but I knew that it was 5 guys. These 5 guys, they would like come together into this body, and this body, they gave him like the super powers. So, but only one could basically inhabit the body at one time. So you would see like the consciousness of the people around telling him, what to do. So this guy, he was like a paratrooper. So he could fly. These little things would come out from his arm and leg. And he could fly with them. I don't know what you would call that. This guy he was a big bodybuilder. So when he would go when he would get the conscious of the body, he would grow like that size. This guy was a fighter, martial artist, because I was in the martial arts back in the day. This guy was, I think he was like an electrician or something, because he could shoot electricity. And this guy was like a genius. He had like the power that would shoot like from this little fork that was in his head, kind of like Black Bolt. I don't know if Black Bolt does that or if he just screams. But anyway, he had the most power. But these couple of these guys, they really despise one another. They really, really despise. So it was hard for them to work together. So that was the key thing, that they had to work together, because they would be getting beat up. And one guy would be like, let me do it. No, I got it. So they would always kind of fight. So that was going to be the premise of the story. That was his weakness, that they could not work together, because you had to step out of the shoes to let somebody else step in the shoes. And if he was getting beat, or if he didn't know what to do, you had to step out and let somebody else step in. So they were always the pride. Oh, I got it. And so he would lose a lot until they got themselves together. But never came up with the, names of the guys. I don't know if I had a name for the character, but I will eventually, because it's going to be part of the universe. And I think that was pre-high school, I guess. So where is this guy? This was going to be a story. This was going to be a story, because back then it was like not a lot of black comic books back in the day. There was a few, but not a lot. So I had this guy who was like Black Ivory, and it was like he had the spirit of the elephant, the white elephant, because it's been so long, but he had that power, and he had those tusks that would like come out of his arms, almost kind of like Wolverine, but it came out of his forearms, and the guy was like super strong. He would use that, and also it came out his back and kind of like wrapped around it. So the guy was strong, and then I had the characters that were going to fight him, and she was like not a park ranger, but these guys were poachers. These guys were poaching, and they were killing elephants and taking the ivory off, thus black ivory. And she was like in charge of finding them. And this guy was a doctor, and somehow he ended up in the jungle. I think he was on a trip there and ended up in the jungle and ran into these guys, and he was killed or something. But the elephant spirit came and gave him the power to defend them. So yeah, this is one of my main. And I redrew them better later, but I had this story down to a fairly good point. Let's see. Well, I'm sorry, I'm going to do these quickly. I call this guy Flamethrower because he was a firefighter, and kind of like he had a power to attract fire. He didn't know that yet. And while putting out a fire, the fire came to life and like burnt him to, like just burn him down almost to the bone. But they reconstructed him, his muscles like wires and stuff, because he's kind of strong, but he controls fire. So he has his suit because he's still afraid of fire. He has his suit to protect him. And he has like these capsules here, and these capsules have a liquid. And when he throws them, when the capsules break, it's kind of like this liquid is just on fire, just a little bit. But from that little bit of fire, he can manipulate fire into like dragons and whatever, just snakes or whatever. He just controls fire. He can't make fire, he can control it. So yeah, this was Flamethrower. And I have another picture of this guy. This is when Superman was a big time, so I needed my own little Superman type character. I just called him Hero. I never really had a name for him. He was just an older guy. I wanted him to be older, an older guy, just just jacked. So yeah, part of the universe. This guy was just, and you'll see a lot of masks on people, because back in the day I really wasn't good at drawing faces. I have no idea who this guy was, but I like the designs of the boots. So yeah, I just use that, and he's got this wristband that does a lot of stuff. But what, I don't know. I will later. I was bored, so I had to start this drawing. But these guys are gonna be part of the universe. I was trying to think of where the story came from. I can't remember, but they're gonna be part of the universe. So it's going up and down as far as timeline for drawing. Let me go back to the thing. Like I said, my brother did a couple characters. He started doing characters, just a couple of them. So I said to myself, you know what? He's not going to do anything with them. Let me take them. So I took a couple of his characters. Let me see if I can zoom out, so you can see all of this. That's zooming in, Brian. That's zooming in. Yeah, I don't want to get too small. So yeah, and then this is when I first was trying to get deeply into the doing markers. But back in the day, we just had like the water markers, which just dried up and just really didn't blend. It was like crappy. So I put all these characters together. I think my brother did, which one he did? This guy, maybe this one, this guy, and I think this and this. And the other ones I just kind of like drew. So this is going to be, the characters. So of course, if I had a team, my team had to fight other teams. So this was my attempt at doing a poster, kind of a class poster. And again, with the crappy water markers, which just did not flow very well. If you look at the purple, you see how the purple came out. So when I see stuff like that, or when I draw something, it was always my thing. If I draw something and I'm happy with the pencil, then I ink it, and then it's screwed up, I'm not happy. And then when I try to put color on it and the color doesn't work, I'm not happy. So that's why I didn't finish this. That's why I didn't finish. And two, it's hard to come up with color schemes for characters. That was one of the big things with this. This is why I didn't finish this, because it was like, okay, how am I going to get colors for these guys? So I just know these guys. I was into Captain America for a while, so this is kind of like a police, like a Captain America and a Bucky kind of police guy. this guy was like, he was like light, you know, but then when you put the rainbow on him, everybody was like, oh, it's a gay character, it's a gay character. No, dude, it was just like he was. So I had to change him because it was like I called him Rainbow at the beginning, and everybody, oh, is he gay? No, so yeah, I think this guy was like a space cop. No, this guy was a space cop. This guy was something, I don't remember what he was. So yeah, but they'll all have one. And this was kind of like Namor, fish guy. He could fly. And he was a bad guy right here. He was just bad. He was like the Wolverine type of guy. He even had little blades on his wrists. But the color just screwed up because it was like too dark. And yeah, just screwed up. So jumping ahead years later, I'm just gonna stop pulling them out because this was my wrecking crew right here. Let me zoom in. I don't know why I made these guys, and I'm sure there might be a group called the Wrecking Crew, but I did these guys, and I liked the way it came out. I liked the pencil, but I was afraid to ink it because, yeah. And this guy, he had like concrete on his back, and I think one of them was a jackhammer, I think. And this guy, I think he was a flamethrower. All of them had something that they shoot out of these things, but I can't remember. I just wanted a cool bad guy crew that would just tear stuff up. So this was my wrecking crew. Jumping ahead, I had these girls. I don't know why I drew these girls. I think I wanted a soldier, kind of a elf and a wizard together as a team. But again, you know, I could talk all day about the hair didn't sit right on her. Her nose was like too small and the face was too, you know, but I shouldn't be shooting my art down. But I wanted this team. So of course they're going to be, it's just like different timelines put together to fight something. I don't know what they're going to fight, but it was a team. You'll see them again later. So this was as I got better. I put these cats together. Let me pull back again. This was the mainstay of my comic group before I put the clown together. The clown is like the clown is like the flagship. Samurai Trials with Samurai Clown is the flagship because that's the one I put the most time and energy into because it was completely unique. This is the next soldier. I have the comic book, one issue for that out already. This again is the flamethrower, and of course this is the Black Ivory. So out of the most powerful, it's this guy here because being a soldier for God, you can do anything, but the thing is faith. His weakness was his faith. He really doesn't believe, but he has the power. It's in front of him, but it's hard for him to believe that he can do anything. So he gets beat down a lot. So he has to go back and rebuild his faith up. So yeah, it was a good story. That's why I actually have one book out for it. Here are my girls. So this is the sister of the matriarch. And this is the matriarch. I changed her costume. Let me see if I can find the first drawing of her. This is her as I changed the costume for kind of, I started the actual drawings on comic book paper for their story, but I never finished because I couldn't figure out the background. I couldn't really get a background for them. I had it, but I'm a really detailed type person and I couldn't get that detail in the background that I wanted. So, and of course, I always have ideas, fresh ideas constantly coming. This is why I have all these things going on because I never stick with one thing. I would probably been a millionaire by now and I stuck with it, but I've got so many ideas coming on. But anyway, this is her new costume. This is the matriarch and her sister, which is here, is somewhere. I'll bring her up in a second. And this was this her? Yeah, this was when I was getting into color pencil. Just doing a poster of her, or just a drawing of her. Where is the other? Okay, here's the other one. So this is the sister, which didn't change too much, but I think I put a dragon. This was supposed to be like a dragon scales that's going down her costume, and it's like the dragon head like a crest or, you know, armor type of thing. Before she had on all black. So they were sisters and they were fighting over the territory. And it was the older sister stepped in with a bigger army. So they had to kind of come together to fight the sister because the sister was going to take, the older sister was going to take over all of their territory. So, yeah, and that's the wizard girl, and that's the elf and the soldier. And I'm going to finish all these one day. Next soldier again. And I tell you to, I tell people to see it in their head. His foot went off the page. That's what I'm trying to say. His foot went off the page, so that kind of, I didn't like that. So I should have brought it up. That's what I say. Start with the torso and then work your way down. All you need for the head is a little teeny bit of room. So when you start way down, you're bound to go off the page. So that's what I say. Start with the torso. So when you put the torso there, you just know all I need is just a little bit of room for the head. Unless he got a big helmet on, a fire or something coming from his head, you don't need that much space. So that was kind of like my mess up. But it's finished and I'm going to call it one day. This guy, I don't know who he was, but I wanted like a half man, half robot thing. And yeah, I didn't finish it because I didn't know what this was going to look like. This is like his you know, optics, whatever. So between this space and this space, it was going to be like two different, like one could have been infrared, the other could have been whatever. And I couldn't figure out what to put in there. And to this point, I never finished it. And then what to do with the front of the gun. So again, as I say, I have so much stuff just running through my head that back then I wasn't finishing anything. And this is when I was teaching at a art school, and I decided to make a not logo, like a mascot for the school, which I never gave to them. So, and you know, I left the school because differences. So it's mine. I'm gonna use it. And I think that are the only ones that I could find, and I had started just because I had started like the camera positions for the posters, little posters for some of the characters. No, I'm supposed to zoom in. And that was the sister, the matriarch, the one with the snake. This was I don't know who that was. I had a character, what did I call her? A young assassin. It was this girl who was a model. And she became an assassin because she was a top model and she can get in anywhere. And then she would just assassinate people, you know, and, you know, because nobody knew, she would disguise herself and then she would assassinate them, you know. And this was the matriarch's pose with the sword, but yeah. So there are others laying around, but I have no idea where they are. But yeah, that's part of my universe. And I've been doing comics for a while. Oh, and I forgot to mention my coloring book. I'm just throwing this in the middle of the video. I did a coloring book, superhero coloring book for people that wanted to learn how to color, either in Photoshop or just color. And this is like some extra characters that I have done in this book. So these guys are going to be part of the universe as well. Just to let you know that I have so many characters because I've been drawing forever and ever and designing and stuff forever and ever. So yeah, back to the video and at the end. Back to the video and at the end. Back to the video and ended. I'm looking through something real quick. It's got nothing to do with it, but this was a old watercolor thing that I had started. I redid it, and I'll show you the other one. But I like this face because you can actually see the shadow from the watercolor, but it was big. And as I said, I always do big stuff. I don't know why I did that. So I couldn't get the clothes right. I couldn't get the flow. I couldn't get the flow on this paper, the flow on this paper. And so it just kind of pissed me off. So I redid that in a smaller version. And I brought this out to say, if you can do comics, if you know how to draw, then don't just put all your eggs in one basket. Do other things as well. You can do a lot of things with your talent. Something I was telling my daughter last night, it's like you can draw, and we were looking at some of her stuff. She was doing houses and interiors, and and clothes and stuff, but she still doesn't know what she wants to do in life. I'm like, you've got a God-given talent. A lot of people have to work hard to get that and still may never reach it, but you know, he gave you that talent for a reason. Use that. You know, you don't have to do comics every day. You don't have to draw flowers all the time. Do a lot of stuff. See what you enjoy. You never know what happened to you. So that's going to be it for this quick video. And I said I'm going to finish this one day because I did like the way the gray flowed on her face. So anyway, I'll ramble. I'll see you guys later. That's my universe. I'm going to draw one poster, big poster with all of my characters on it. And yeah. So one day the Brian universe will come out, and when I get the money, I'll start hiring artists to start doing my work for me, because I can't do it all because I have too much on my plate right now. All right, so I'll see you guys later in the next video. Later.